What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing. I am back at you tonight again for some more lake breakdowns on Lake Travis. We are on our fourth Google Earth breakdown for Lake Travis. Hopefully, you guys are learning a lot. I'm learning a lot. I'm actually ready to go fish that lake now. I'm super excited. So, anyways, let's jump into it. Here we are, fourth episode, Google Earth, Lake Travis. Let's go. Let's go ahead and jump into Lake Travis. If you haven't seen the lake breakdowns before, obviously you want to go out and check out the lake breakdown playlist. But over here on the left-hand side, what I've done is I've broken this lake down by a couple of different things just based on what I was able to find. So if we look at it, the first thing would be creek channels. So all the different creek channels that are running into this lake, the main ones, that I believe that are going to be really good to be fishing around, I've marked all of those. And it really allows you to position your boat right on the creek channel. And I've got the image drawn down right now to 2015, which is actually where I marked the channel. But if I were to move that image up to say today's date, you can tell that channel disappears. And that's where you want to be fishing, is right along and really inside of where that creek channel is, on the sides, the bends, the turns, all that good stuff. So anyways, we have all that marked for you. Now, the next thing that we have over here is cover. And I also found a few ledges as well. So I didn't want to make multiple categories. So I just put cover and a few ledges. And so if you want to see those, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you'll see we've got a lot of those throughout the lake too. We'll talk about those. We've got ditches that are out here too. So there were several different ditches that I was able to find throughout this lake. So we'll definitely want to take a look at those. Ramps, lots of ramps. There are boat ramps galore on this on this lake. I think that probably more boat ramps than we've had on any of the lake breakdowns that we've done. And finally, rock. And you're like, yeah, Lake Travis is full of rock, but this is more like rock formations, different areas where the rock is different, transition areas, stuff like that. So again, we'll cover all of it. And if you have already seen the lake breakdown, my apologies for having to go through that really quick. So on our last breakdown, what we did is we stopped at what I call the no name marina. So basically what we've done is we've started down here at the dam and worked our way all the way up, went through these turns, covered all these points, and now we have to move over to this marina. As soon as I find it, it's going to click for me. But we're going to move over to this marina, and this is where we're going to start today. So that marina is right up here somewhere. Here we go, right in here, right here by the Lake Travis Fishing Guide. So you can see it's right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down just a little bit more so we can see this image drawn down a little bit farther than what I had it. So I think this is probably going to be right where we need to be. I'm in March of 2015. Looks like when I go to January, it looks pretty good, but the image doesn't look as good. So let's stick with March of 2015. That's what we're going to go with for this one. So as far as this marina goes, I don't really know what the name of this marina is. So we're just going to call it Lake Travis Fishing Guide. But obviously you want to fish around the marinas, but there's some pretty decent stuff in here. There's a couple boat ramps you can fish around. There's a really good creek channel coming right through here. So you could really, when the water's up, and we've talked about this in the previous videos, but don't necessarily fish right up on the bank. I mean, your places you want to be fishing are right here around these ledges and things like that. So I've got all of that marked for you. A couple more ramps up there. Pretty decent little ditch back here. If you look at it, it's got some rock around it. It's a little bit of ledge going on right in there as well. So maybe just some interesting stuff back in this area. And again, if we're looking at it when the water's up, that place is going to look totally different. Completely different than what we were just looking at. So definitely take that in consideration while you're out there. I'm going to move this on back to 2015 again, and we are going to get started. So this is 3:15. That's where we want to go. All right, so let's keep moving up. Obviously, there's this ledge here. I marked this one for you because if you notice this little creek channel that comes through here, it turns right here. And I always talk about fishing around the turns, fishing around the bends. This is a really good example of where this could be a really good spot to be able to find some fish. So definitely take advantage of that. As we move up here, not too much going on. There was a little bit of rock here. You can tell there's a little bit of a rock formation. Let me see if I can get it to show up a little bit better. I think I might be able to get it here. I've actually moved this back to 2014 So there's some rock there, but there's also some debris there. I just like how this little area sets up. It's got a little pocket here. It's coming right down the main river channel, so maybe a good little area for them to set up and ambush some bait. Not sure, but I went ahead and marked it for you guys. Also have a ramp out here as well you can take a look at. And when we get up here, we get into some really cool looking stuff, just land features and stuff. One, you've got these creeks that come in. And if you look on these creeks, look at the big breaks and the shade and stuff that this all creates. So some really good rock around this point. You got a really good little creek channel back in here. If you look at this point up here, this one looks really good. It's got a creek that comes through here, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But this little point right here, that is definitely a place where I would want to be fishing. Definitely, I could see that being a really good area for fish to be. And right here on this bend. We talked about it earlier, but right here on this bend, or even maybe on the inside of the bend, depending on what's going on. So just this area right in here could be a really primo area to be able to find some fish. And again, I don't want to keep moving the lake back and forth, but if I were to move the lake up, this would look a lot different. So just keep that in mind as we're going through all this. Now, as we move on up here, got some more stuff to look at. If you look right off the edge over here, there's like this little ridge that comes right off here. And obviously you've got some pretty deep water right in here. This is your main river channel that's swinging up against here. But when the water's up high enough, this ledge is going to be under the water. And you'll notice it's got some really good shade and a really good drop, and it's got some additional cover that's kind of below it. And I don't know if that, that'll still be there when the water's up, but this spot right here looks like it could have some really, really good potential when the water is up. In fact, let's go ahead and look at it real quick. I told you I wasn't going to make you dizzy, but I'm curious if that's fishable right now, because the image that I have showing you guys right now is all the way back to October of 2014. So we bring it up to 2022 here. This is May of 2022 is what it says. You can see that it looks a lot different than what it looked like just a minute ago. So the lake is down still quite a bit. But it looks like you should at least be able to fish around that point and stuff like that. Man, that was a drastic change in what we just saw back in 14 and what's there now. So notice how the lake is basically like shaping the land here. This is pretty neat. But I'm going to go back to 2014. If I can ever get back there. Just kind of nerdy like that, but that's pretty cool. So what it looks like, just a little point, but there's a really good ridge there and some cover there as well. So I think that's going to be a really good spot. So go check it out. I'm done messing with that one, so done boring you guys. There's a really big river channel or creek channel. I think, what does it say here? I can't remember what it says. Something creek. Coit Creek, maybe? I can't really tell what it says, but pretty good creek that comes down here. It's got some pretty good turns. Maybe fishing around the bends. Fishing in here, fishing in there, and definitely fishing on the points, like where these major creek arms come in and they hit the main river arm. Those are always primary points you want to fish. So you definitely want to be looking right in here. Off this point's going to be a pretty good point as well to go take a look at. And then as we move down, just a couple different things to look at. You've got some big boulders that are out here. So I've marked each one of those. There's two big ones there, and there's a bunch of big ones right down here in this area. And there's also some other looking like debris, laydowns and stuff like that. So this little spot right here, it depends. If this goes further out into the water, that could be a money little spot that you could find right there. You got a nice little dock you can fish around and come over here and mess around with all this rock, mess around with that stuff, those bigger chunk rock or whatever that is. So definitely some potential right there in that area. As you move a little bit further down, starts getting maybe not as good looking as it did before, but definitely got a lot of underwater cover. If the lake gets up high enough and the water's up here, all this stuff comes into play. So it's something to think about there. But if you look right here, I love these little jetties or little not jetties, but just little spots that come out and just make this little turn like this. So right here where this hard spot is, you can see that being a really good spot to fish as well. Really good spot for them to ambush bait and stuff like that. We've also got ramps here, more ramps back in there, some more rock. Now, I didn't even cover every ramp, so as we're going through this, you're going to be shocked at how many ramps are on here. I just covered the bigger ones, the ones that I think, if I was on the ramp pattern, this is kind of the ramp that I'd be looking for. I don't want to just have a little walkway. I want a big ramp. Now, right in here, we've also got some rocks. So if you look right off this point, some really good rock coming right off this point, really good cover all right in here. So that has potential too. But again, the water's got to come up quite a bit. We've got tons of ramps. Here's all those ramps I was talking about. Probably the only time on this lake, I mean, I guess you could, if you got on a ramp pattern on this lake, it would be absolutely fire. But my guess is that what you would have to do is you would have to combine that ramp pattern with something else, like the ramps when they're close to certain types of cover, or maybe ramps when they're close to creek swings or creek channels or something like that, because there's just so many ramps here that I think if you caught one on a ramp, don't just get locked in and think, hey, I'm going to catch one on every ramp that I fish. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher than that just because there's so many of them here. All right, so there's all the ramps. Now, if we move down here into this pocket, before I do that, I'm going to back up. I'm going to show you guys where I'm at because I've been kind of flying through this thing. But we started down in here, and we just worked our way up the corner. So we're almost to the end as far as how much I marked up here. And then we're going to switch around. We're going to go back down the south side. So let's go ahead and look and see what else we were able to find up in here. Here's the rock. Looks like it may have been like an old road possibly, or maybe it's an old ramp. I'm not sure, but there's some pretty good rock right there off the edge of that. If that water gets up, up here more where it's supposed to be, that could be a really good little spot right there. Again, a major creek arm coming down and going into the main river. So those points like that are always great places to look. Now up here, you've just got this major creek arm, a couple different ramps and things, nothing too special. This ramp looked interesting. Looks like it's got quite a bit of washout and stuff like there right at the edge of it. So if the water gets up high enough in this area, that could possibly come into play as well. And then you've got a little bit of rock over here off the point, but nothing too crazy. If I was fishing in this area, I would definitely fish that point. And then I would come back here and I would fish these two docks because those docks are on a creek channel swing. In fact, I probably even fish that one too, but these docks right here would definitely be primo docks to fish. So if you're out there and you need to fish in this area, or maybe you just want to fish in this area, I didn't mark it, but those two docks are setting really, really well where they need to be in order to be able to catch some fish. So go check those docks out. Okay, let's keep moving on down. We've got some laydowns just by this ramp, nothing crazy. I mean, if you were fishing all these docks, I guess you could go down and look at there, or if the water was up here, this could definitely come into place. So you've got the laydown there, pretty good ramps here. You got a couple more ramps over here as well, some more right there. And then again, we got another little creek that comes in. This one isn't really a major creek arm, but it's definitely, it's definitely a nice little creek. So you can see here, it's got a pretty decent little channel that comes through here. And nothing in here that really shocked me. Obviously, I'd be fishing right in here if I was fishing this creek channel. That'd be a really primo spot to probably look at. And then you guys are going to guess it probably somewhere down in here. Just see what's going on. Now, these little I don't even know what they're called now. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but these little ditches, I'm just going to call it a ditch, but that's not what it's called. But these little areas right in here, these can be really interesting too, because they'll settle down inside of those and ambush bait as it flows over the top of them. So kind of pay attention to the landscape when you're out here fishing this lake. And if you see something like that, where it's got that major ravine that's going through there, take a look at it. See if you can find anything in that area. Now, also right here on this creek channel, notice the rock's pretty similar. I mean, you've got some bigger stuff here, but most of that rock's similar. But right in here, the rock changes and it turns into more of this chunkier rock. So anytime it changes, anytime there's something different, there's always a good area to go look at. You've got some more rock over here that's back behind this dock that's really big. So again, thinking with the water's up, that dock's up here and that rock's probably right out in front of that dock or something like that. So I think we're going to go down. Yeah, we'll go down just a little bit further. And then what we're going to do is we marked a few more spots over here, and then we're going to turn around and go back. So here, basically just marking some really primary ditches that you could come in and look. So if it's been raining a lot and things like that, these can be some pretty productive little areas. You got some small ones here as well. These are your major ones that are coming through that I went ahead and marked for you. And then you got a couple more ramps there. Let's move over. We're going to come up here. We're going to hit both sides of this since it's a real small area. But just some things to look at. If again, the water's got to be where you need it to be, but you've got a creek channel swing that's coming over here. And right on that swing, you've got some really good rock. But there's not a lot of rock in any of the other areas. So definitely be a good area to go check out. You've got a ramp back here. You've also got a really good ditch that comes back through here. I've marked it. but you can see it's kind of hard to see now because I've got that yellow line there, but there's a really good ditch right out in the middle of that. So before we go any further, 2022, the lake's been down pretty low as well, but let's go see if we can fish this area. And voila, we can. So that ditch will be there and you'll be able to fish that area. So it should be a really good area to take a look at. All right, so let's keep going on up this river channel. Obviously, when that river swings up and it starts touching stuff, like when it gets close to the bank line, any of those areas are always going to be good areas. So when you're looking at these docks right here, let's say that you're just fishing in this little box right here, right? You're forced to fish in this square that's right here. Well, immediately, the place where I'm going to go is I'm going to skip all of these docks. I'm going to immediately go to this side because that's the creek channel swing. And I'm going to fish all of those docks that are along the creek channel swing. And that's going to be your hot spot for that area. That's where your fish are going to be, somewhere right in here. And maybe not, there's clearly obviously going to be fish over here too, but your primary, the majority of the fish are going to be hanging more in this area. So definitely keep that in consideration when you're fishing around all these big river channels and things like that. Again, you got another big bend right here, right? So these docks right in here could be primo docks, especially with them having those points out there and that brush off the front of it. So if you look right here, there's some pretty good brush. You could flip this brush. There's probably stuff in that brush for sure, I guarantee. So you could take a look at that. And then the river channel comes on up here. We get into some more where it's swinging again. That's where we get into the bigger rock formation. So I'm on 2022 right now. Let me take this back to 2014 so we can see the actual rock formations and really be able to see what's going on. So here I'm in 2013, so it looks like it's even further down than it was before. But here, remember when we were looking just a minute ago and that water was up and it looked like I was just kind of pointing out a little bit of rock that happened to be there? It's not. It's actually really cool. I mean, look at that. Look at all that rocks. You know that's going to be a good spot because the river channel is swinging right against it too. It just looks like it could be a really good area to be fishing. And while you're there, if you can see high enough up off that cliff, look at that mega house. Holy cow. Where do these people get their money? I don't know, but that is a mansion. All right, so let's keep on moving. I wanted you guys to check this too. There's a pretty good little ditch that's right here or something. I don't know, maybe not ditch, but maybe like a ledge, but whatever it is, you can see it right here. And there's a really good shade line right here. So there's a real good drop going on right in here. And there's not a lot in this area per se for them to hang out in. So that could be a good spot for them to, just to hang out and do some munch and stuff like that. As we get up here and we get around this major creek channel swing right here, notice where those rocks are. Those rocks are clearly showing that, hey, it's swinging up against the land. So right there is your primo spot to be fishing in this area. It's right around those rocks, right where that swing is. You've also got a ramp there. You got a lay down that's out here in front of this dock. If I move in here, there's a couple big lay downs. Those could have some potential too. So you could go check those out. Pretty decent little chunky rock and stuff like that around the dock, but nothing else really up there. As we move further down, just a couple different areas where there's rock. But again, maybe if they're just biting the crankbait and you're just wanting to roll down the bank, I'd fish this area. But like I said before, I'd focus on those hot spots, these areas, where it's making turns, where it's touching stuff. That's where I'd be putting a lot of my focus on. All right, so as we move down here, again, we get into another one of those areas. This is a whole creek channel swing right here, this whole entire bank line. You got some really good rock on this bank line too. You got some little patch of it there, real big patch of it right here. Lots of ramps on the other side, lots of rock. Just basically this whole thing. Start right here and just work your way down through basically until it starts to let off, and then you can stop fishing. But that whole area right in there, just really juicy. And you got the river coming in here and meeting you right here as well. So it's like creek channel swing right into another swing. That whole stretch just looks really good. And so while we're talking about that main river channel swing is coming over here, right? And it's hitting this really, really hard right in here at this Resort Ranch Marina. That's where we're at right now, if you're wondering where we were. So we're going to look at this. You can tell, notice how it's basically dirt and junk on this side and rock on this side. That's because it's washing it out constantly. So these docks are going to be good docks to fish around. And there's some really good looking rock formations and things for them to hide in. Look at this one that I marked here. I put rock here. But notice the shade line that that rock is creating. It's all the way out here. So this is big. I mean, that's a big rock for them to hang out in. That's like a mansion to the bass. You know, they're definitely going to be attracted to that kind of stuff. You've also got some pipes that are down here. And notice how that pipe's in a little bit of a ditch. That could be a really good spot as well. These big old rocks again over here. Just this whole bank line just looks pretty juicy. Definitely, if I was fishing that area, I'd focus on those bank lines that we talked about. As we move up here, we're going to stay on this side now because we've already covered that side. Got some pretty big rocks here as well. I don't know why I put ramp there because that's clearly not a ramp. That's clearly a rock. So let's go ahead and change the name of that thing to a rock, because if you thought that was a ramp, something might be wrong with you. So I'm going to change that back real quick. We're going to get that back to a rock so you guys know. But that's a really cool rock formation for sure. We've also got these little points that come out, right? And these are great ambush spots with some pretty good rock on there as well. So look at that one. Come up here. Look at this one up here. You know, you might even check this one out. This could be just a little pattern that you run where you're only hitting these little pockets that are here and only hitting points facing a certain direction based on the wind, or in this case, you know, based on the current. I mean, your primo spots are probably going to be the points that are on this side, the points that are facing the current. So the bass can face the current and munch down. So, but that's not to say they're not going to be on the other points too. It's just that would be more of a primary spot, maybe some type of a pattern you might be able to get to run on this lake. As we move up here, we've got a ramp. Some pretty good bluff walls and stuff like that. Looking pretty steep right in here. You got some pretty good rock right there too as well. As we move up here, another one of those good little points. And then it swings off and hits the other side, which we talked about. So now we're going to kind of talk about the boring side for a little bit until we get more into the creek channel side. But on the inside turn of this major river channel, we've got a really good ditch that's back in here. And you can see it starts right here. We've got all this rock. It's got a real nice ditch that comes through here, a nice little ledge that's right in here, some real good rock, some more rock right in there. So even though it's not, you know, where you think it would think that the, you know, good spot would be right out in here, this could be a secret little spot right there off the top of that point. So definitely go look at that. Let's keep moving down. We've got some more ramps that are down here. That one actually is showing that it's in the water, so I might have to pull the date back and get this further down, but we'll see what we can do here. We've also got another little, this is more of a ditch. I've got it marked as a creek channel, but it's more of a ditch, but it's pretty significant. I mean, it's enough to where they could relate to it. It's not as good as some of the other ones, but it's still out there, so you can go check that one out. We've also got some more rock. Again, one of those little points right off the river channels. Those could have some potential, but really, if I'm fishing here, I'm probably not fishing the rock here and definitely paying attention to what's going on this side. All right, so as we move on down, big river channel swing on this side that we covered. Up in here on this side, on the shallower side, we've actually got another one of those little, like really deep little ditches, I guess what you want to call them. I'm not sure what you want to call them, but pretty cool little area in here. Look how much deeper this is going to be when the water's up here and it's up like this. These are really good drops. Really cool looking place. Got some really good rock here, good swings. That whole spot looks good. And right over here, this looks awesome too. You got a creek that's coming through here that's really dug the canyon out through here and gave you some really good spots to fish. Real good ambush spot right there. All right, so let's keep moving down. We're going to go down just a little bit further, and then we'll probably cut it off. But move down a little bit further. We got some pretty good rock piles that are right in there. That one looks pretty good. These look good as well, with big old chunky rocks down in here. I love this little cove that's over here. The lake is just really just carved out this whole entire land. It's a beautiful place for sure. We've also got some rock here. Look how steep this is. Again, I put ramps, so I must have been naming stuff wrong for some reason. So let me fix that too, because that's not supposed to say ramp. That is supposed to say rock. So we'll fix that one. And then moving on down, we've got a ramp that's right here. The Tainham Cove ramp, boat ramp. Another ramp there. Not too much going on this side, but it's going to get juicy, I promise. As we move down here, fish these little points. This point doesn't look that great, but that one looks like it might have some potential. You got some pretty good rock back in here. If you look back in here, look at this giant stuff. I mean, they could be hanging out any of that stuff. Those big old boulders. Looks super cool. big old boulders here as well. You could take a look at. Now remember that these docks are all going to be up there. So these boulders are going to be underneath the docks, or actually here, there is no dock. So you could definitely fish around here and stuff like that. But all this stuff just looks like it has some good potential. But I'm a rock guy. I like fishing around rocks. All right, if you noticed, as we were coming down this bank line over here, it was kind of sandy, and we talked about some of these little ditches and stuff there, but nothing going on. It should change here pretty soon. It's starting to already. You can see it's changing more to rock. And the reason why it's changing more to rock is that the river channel has now switched over here to our side. So we are going to go ahead and go down here a little bit further. We're now at the Lake Travis Vacation Getaway. So lots of good rock going around there, but I didn't see anything like that pointed out to me. But obviously anything in this little stretch right here could be a really good stretch because of that river channel swing that's right there and the fact you got all that rock and stuff like that. So definitely a good spot to look. You could come back in here. There's a couple different ramps and things like that to look at. And then it swings down. Again, you've got a really good river swing right here, river channel swing. So all these docks come into play for sure. And then moving on down a little bit further, right where it starts to kind of end and swing away, you've got a really good little rock formation going on right in here as well. In fact, it looks like I missed there's a boat ramp or something down in there too. So a really interesting little spot right there. So let's go down. Let's go ahead and pick a spot for us to stop. Not sure where that's going to be. What we're going to do is we're going to stop right here at the reserve at Lake Travis. So let's go down and talk about these few more spots that are down here. These docks are cool because they do have some pretty good depth to them. So you could definitely fish those, but those didn't look as good as the ones where it was swinging up against them. So, but we do have some pretty good rock there. We got a ramp that's out here as well. And then by then we get up here and we can actually stop. Let's just stop right here. This is at the reserve at Lake Travis. It looks like a pretty nice little place. Got a couple boat ramps. We'll end the video right there. I think this was our 4th Google Earth video, and we're still not done. We're going to keep trucking. We'll eventually get Lake Travis done. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the videos, learn the lakes. Make sure to go out and check out our website, simplisticfishing.com. You can pick up all these waypoints on an SD card where you basically just plug it into your graph and go. It will change the way you fish. I promise you. And don't forget, check out our sponsors, habitoutdoors.com. Go out there, get fishing and hunting apparel, and get 20% off your order by using Simplistic Fishing 20 at checkout. Hey guys, until next time, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.